In this episode, I want to talk about two really important things: the X factor and the fear barrier. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to Write Your Own Story. My name is James Taylor. I'm an online counsellor, hypnotherapist, life coach and hypnotherapy supervisor. I'm also a podcaster, an author and a YouTuber. Now let's get straight into this. What's this X factor and this fear barrier thing that I'm talking about? Well, I truly believe to my core that we all have the X factor within us. And what do I mean by the X factor? The X factor is that special thing within us that makes us unique, that makes us special, that makes us worthy, that makes us important. I truly believe we all possess this. But life can happen to us, and that X factor, just like something that might be under the covers in an old cellar and some things have been thrown on top, when life happens to us, things can land on top of our X factor to bury it a little bit, to hide it a little bit. Maybe we forget it's even there. Maybe we doubt we've even had it in the first place. Okay? But I do believe we all possess the X factor. Now, when you tune in to the X factor, when you uncover it, discover it, realize, embrace it, whatever you want to call it, when we do that, we then elevate ourselves to a higher level of understanding, perhaps ability as well. Perhaps our confidence increases, our faith in ourselves increases, our skill set increases, our ability to focus increases. So it's really important, I would suggest, that we get a grip of our X factor, because believe me, it is there. You do have value and you are worthy, all right? Even though sometimes you might tell yourself you're not, I promise you, you are. But what happens? It gets buried, but then there's another thing called the fear barrier. And I've done a little graphic that I'm going to put on the screen to show what this is all about. So you'll hear my voice, you'll see the graphic, and I'll talk you through the fear barrier so this makes sense. Now suppose this line represents your life, okay? And there's you, and we'll call you a position 1 standing there. Now up ahead, there's a wall. There's a thing you want to go for. This is the fear barrier, okay? So you're in position 1, and the fear barrier is over there up ahead. Now on the other side of the fear barrier, of course, is freedom. So let's say you want to go for something. So you move towards the fear barrier. Now, you may feel an urge to go back to position 1 because you're a little bit closer to the fear barrier. But for the sake of this, let's say you carry on moving, you go to position 2. Now, when you get to position 2, you're going to want to move back to position 1, perhaps, because there's fear. But this time you're going to persevere. You're going to go to position 3. Now, some things are going on. You may want to go back anywhere, either to position 2 or to position 1, just to feel a bit safer, to feel a bit more comfortable. But let's say you go on to position 4. You're right in front of the fear barrier. It may seem enormous, and those feelings within you may be desperately telling you to move back to position 3, 2 or 1, and it just causes confusion, anxiety and stress. Not a good position to be at. But on the other side of the barrier is freedom. If you get past the fear barrier, you're going to have freedom. Now, one thing to notice: in all the positions 1, 2, 3 or 4, the fear barrier never changes size. It always stays the same size. It's just your perception of it that makes it seem bigger. So we've got two things within us. Using this model, we've got the X factor within us, but we've also got the fear barrier. Now, how do you get past the fear barrier? Well, there might be many ways of doing it. One way could be to just use willpower and just go for it no matter what. I'm going to use grit and resilience and just going to do whatever I need to do. Now, that concept might work for many, but what about if your willpower is not particularly strong? If it's not particularly strong, you'll probably fail. It'll knock your confidence. It will knock your faith in yourself. It may even demoralize you from going for it again. So I wouldn't recommend, if you haven't got a good willpower, to use willpower to go against the fear barrier. But along the journey where I was doing the positions of 1, 2, 3 and 4, what other things could you equip yourself with along the way? Could it be education? Could you get smarter along the way? Positions 1, 2, 3 and 4. Could you learn a new skill? Could you get help from someone else along the way who can give you either a skill or an ability or a gift that you can then take forward when you go to the next position? Is that a possibility? I would suggest that's probably a good one, because we don't have all this knowledge at the start. We're not born with it. We have to learn things along the way. Now, when you were at school, when you think about the differences in the alphabet, that's a pretty difficult thing to learn. Why is a lowercase a different to a capital A, but a lowercase s is the same as a capital S? Why is there a difference with that? What about these letters where we don't pronounce them when we say the word, but we spell it with those letters in? This is a difficult thing. But what happened with you? You learned little rules, little nuances, little skills and tips and tricks along the way to equip you to be able to do it. Now, if this is something that might be of interest to you, if you think there's a fear barrier within you, and I've certainly experienced the fear barrier within me many, many times over, and honestly, many times it's made me go back to position 1 or position 2, but over time, I've learned that if I take on my fear barrier, even though it may seem bigger, the closer I get to it, it doesn't change size. It's just how it's perceived by me. And if I keep on, I'm going to get past it. Now, sometimes I've had to, I wouldn't say sometimes, many times over, I've had to gain lots of skills along the way to equip me with some tools to either get over the fear barrier, go through it, go around it, dig under it, whatever happens. But honestly, when you do, and you get on the other side of it, and that freedom is there, it's bliss. It's bliss. But there's a caveat to this. When you get past your fear barrier, when you carry on with this new freedom version of you, you've elevated yourself. So you're going to be giving yourself another challenge, either consciously or unconsciously. And you know what's going to happen along that road? You're going to come across another fear barrier. But here's the important part. You can take the knowledge that you got past the last one to equip you with a confidence and a faith in yourself that you can get past fear barriers. So this new fear barrier, you'll be able to get over that as well. You'll also know that if this new fear barrier seems to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger, you'll know that's just a perception issue, because the last one seemed bigger and bigger and bigger as well. So this becomes a win-win scenario, and I'm a big fan of the win-win scenarios. I mean, a win-lose I can cope with, but a lose-lose is just the worst. So if you need some help with a fear barrier of yours, and you want to get past something, you want to start something or stop something, sometimes it's a little bit of both. In the description below, there'll be a way to get in touch with me, and I offer a free 30-minute consultation. All right. So X Factor, you've got it. Fear barrier, probably there, but can you get past it? 100%. Sometimes we just need someone else on our journey with us to give us some tools. You think that can be me? Book that consultation. Going off on a different tangent, I love the fact that you're tuning in to watch these videos. I hope you find them really helpful. I love the listeners of the podcast channel that I've got, also called Write Your Own Story. I love the fact you tune in, and I've just recently hit 10,000 plays on my podcast channel. Now on the YouTube channel, I was looking at the analytics behind this, and 89% of viewers have not subscribed. So press that subscribe button, please, because it helps me out, it helps the channel out, and also if you want some things covered in particular, put it down in the comments below. All right. So 2 tasks for you today, please. First one is subscribe to the channel. Second task, if you've got a fear barrier and you want some help with it, go down to the description and there'll be the link there to get in touch for the free 30-minute consultation. I hope you've enjoyed this one. This is James from Write Your Own Story, and my best wishes from me to you. Bye bye.